The engines were not happy. Seraphim was back. A set of rail tours had been commissioned, and once again Seraphim was to pull these trains. The engines' memories were long, and none of them had forgotten how Seraphim had behaved the last time she was at Euston. They all gave her a wide berth. All except for William. He kept her company while the engines exiled her from the sheds. "Oh, my darling, you are far too good for this ghastly place," hissed Seraphim. "These engines know nothing of prestige and privilege. They are all jealous of us." "Of course they are," agreed William pompously. "They do not appreciate our status on the railway." "I never heard the like," whispered Robin. "Where do they get this nonsense from?" grumbled Roger. "She's nothing but trouble," snapped Babs. "She thinks she's such an angel." "Angel!" spluttered Richard. "Her halo slips so far down it's hanging off her buffers." "William becomes even more unpleasant whenever he's around Seraphim," observed Jimmy. "I think it's only going to get worse." Jimmy was right. Whenever Seraphim was around, photographers and train spotters would flock to see her. Recently, they would come to the sheds. At first, the shed-master didn't mind, as a few would ask his permission to enter the premises and photograph Seraphim at rest. But as soon as a small batch were let through, then others would wander in, uninvited and unwelcome, and swamp the sheds, all trying to get a clear shot of Seraphim. The enthusiasts soon caused trouble and would block the paths of other engines trying to get out. "Get out of me way!" thundered Roger. "I'm trying to get to work!" Seraphim adored the attention, but quickly this became a distraction. While out on a rail tour, Seraphim was too busy looking out for photographers that she steamed past a red signal. The driver only stopped the train when, up ahead, Robin was still in the station. "Stupid boy," Seraphim scolded. "You could have caused an accident." "Me?" squeaked Robin. "My signal's still on red. I suppose you went past yours." "Rubbish! I would never do that." Robin rolled his eyes. When he told the other engines, Richard and Roger took it upon themselves to discipline Seraphim. "We take overrunning signals very seriously," emphasized Richard. "Putting passengers, crew and other engines' lives at risk is unnecessary. You should keep a better lookout. Keep your eyes off the photographers and on the line. Otherwise, they'll be photographing a train wreck, with you in pieces all over the line. You'd look a pretty picture then." Suddenly, Seraphim began to cry. "Oh," stuttered Roger. "We're sorry we came on a little strong there, love. We didn't mean to make you cry." Feeling embarrassed and uncomfortable, Richard and Roger puffed away. No sooner had they gone, Seraphim stopped crying and smirked. Men. Seraphim continued not to pay attention. She backed down into Euston Station to the sounds of cameras clicking away at her. "Get me from platform 2, that's my best side, my darling," she pouted lustfully. "That's not your train," puffed Jimmy. "Your train is over there." "Of course it is. I always go from platform 3. "Well, not today. This is the Caledonian. It's not for you." "Oh, shut up and go away. You are spoiling my shots." Jimmy tried time and time again to warn Seraphim, but she only blew steam at him. Eventually, Arthur backed down in front of her. "What is the meaning of this?" she cried. "This is the Caledonian, is it not?" asked Arthur. Well, yes it is." "Then why are you coupled to the train?" asked Arthur again. Seraphim couldn't think of a good enough excuse, so requested, rather sheepishly, to be removed from the train. "I don't think so, my dear. You are going to make me late. You are coming with me." "You can't do that. I wasn't watching where I was going," shrieked Seraphim. "It serves you right," said Arthur firmly. "I've heard all about you, and I think a lesson in humility is just what you need." Jimmy couldn't believe it. There was Seraphim being pulled out of the station, heading to Scotland, with Arthur. "William!" "Seraphim? What on earth is going on?" "Remember how Terry taught you a lesson once? Well, Arthur is doing the same to Seraphim," giggled Jimmy. "Wait a minute," called an enthusiast. "Where's our engine for our rail tour?" "Oh dear," murmured Jimmy. Late that afternoon at the sheds, the museum directors, along with the railway board, paid the shedmaster a visit. They were very cross. "Jim, what is the meaning of this?" an inspector inquired. "Our engine has been kidnapped," shouted the museum director. "I hardly think it is considered kidnapping when you know where she is," replied the shedmaster innocently. "I suppose you think this is funny," snapped the director. "We'll see how funny you find this when we never bring our locomotive here again." "That's not such a bad thing," whispered Babs cheekily to Roger. Now, let us not take leave of our senses," said the eldest of the railway board. "We just need to find out what happened." "Well, I think you are asking the wrong person," said the shedmaster. "I do not control the operations of the locomotives once out of my shed. Perhaps it was a signalling fault or a platform error." "Now, Jimmy, I know you well. You know your fleet inside out," smiled the old inspector knowingly. "There must be something else here. The Royal Scots are a highly reputable class, and none more so than Arthur. I sincerely believe he wouldn't have acted through any malicious means, and wouldn't have purposefully affected the rail tour's motive power, if it wasn't for the circumstances." The inspectors paused. "This man can't control his engines," cut in the director. "Please, sir, don't judge me on the standards of yourself when you can't even control your own engine." "What do you mean?" asked the old inspector inquisitively. Just then, Seraphim returned. She bumped Jimmy furiously. "Oh! This is your fault, you snivelling little... Oh, oh, hello there, gentlemen." "Seraphim," pointed the old inspector. "She's been a nightmare. A nuisance to the crews, a horror to the other engines, and a few days ago a danger to her passengers by overrunning a red signal. It seems fame has gotten the best of her. Her attention span is minute due to her obsession with the limelight enthusiasts give her. She is the one you should be speaking to." Seraphim lost her voice. So had the museum director, who was deeply ashamed of her. It was up to the old inspector to decide what to do with her. "You will be made to pull regular trains until we see an improvement in your attitude. You may be owned by the museum, but I'm sure your director is appalled to discover your behaviour and will seek to rectify it. You will be remorseful by the end of it, or you will not be sanctioned to pull rail tours on British Railways again. I hope You understand?" Seraphim did understand. She had never been told off before, and felt rather small. The old inspector winked at the shedmaster. "Never doubted you for a second, Jimmy." He turned and walked away with the rest of the railway board. The museum director trailed quietly behind. Seraphim was made to haul regular trains under strict instructions, as she was not allowed to haul rail tours until she had learned to be more vigilant. At first, she was put on passenger trains and did nothing to halt her attention-seeking with the photographers. But the shedmaster soon put pay to that. Seraphim was ordered to only pull goods trains. She hated it. Photographers and enthusiasts would crowd around her and try and take her picture with a goods train. "Go away! Don't look at me like this!" she whimpered dramatically. During all this, Seraphim did keep a low profile and wasn't as much of an attention seeker as before. But she was still up to her old tricks. She pretended to cry once again. "Put a sock in it, sweetheart, and get going," ordered Den. "Crocodile tears don't work on me." "Oh, pa!" "Do you reckon she's learned her lesson?" asked Roger. "For the time being, until she's allowed to pull rail tours again," sighed Jimmy. "Some engines will never change," said Den darkly. Though it seemed ironic coming from Den, Jimmy and Roger couldn't help but agree.